All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
I listened to the Lawrence OKOLIE interview. He said Eddie Hearn wanted 500 grand, $500,000, as MATCHROOM believe they are entitled to get one more fight out of Lawrence on his contract. And Lawrence seemed a bit aggrieved by that, but I don't know what is what. I'm waiting for the legal proceedings to play out, waiting for this purse bid, for this mandatory he's got coming up against the New Zealander. And from what he was saying, I think Sky are going to be putting a bid in for that fight too. You're going to have Sky, MATCHROOM, any other takers. So that's another important component that has to play out. The interview I saw, it looked like it was very well rehearsed. Lawrence attempted to correct the slave driver remark, saying that he didn't mean it in a racial way, that Eddie was like Leo DiCaprio in Django or something like that, but just somebody with power to mess with your career. He meant it like that. He didn't mean it in a racial way. And that needed to be done. That needed to, because if you're going to fight in the UK as a black fighter, the majority of the people purchasing your tickets, I'm not sure if the majority, but a good number of the people purchasing your tickets on a MATCHROOM show are going to be white Caucasian males. It's as simple as that. The same if he heads over to Sky. So maybe he cleaned it up himself, but I feel the way the interview was conducted, he had a bit of coaching. So maybe someone from Sky, because it looks like he's going to head over to there from what he was saying. Maybe somebody from Sky, Ben Shalom, told him, look, clean it up, Lawrence, you know, like, we can't bring you over here with you using language like that, because he's getting a lot of stick for it. He's getting a lot of stick for the slave driver comments, and it hasn't stopped. If Sky are going to try and package Lawrence, they have to do a little bit of a clean-up job on that. I can see why Eddie is burnt by that. I can see why Eddie is, because it's directed at him. But some of the people reacting to it online, they're going a bit over the top, perhaps. Sky made an offer, and he didn't want to fight for MATCHROOM no more. And he admitted MATCHROOM did do a good job with him. He did admit that. 500 grand seems like a lot of money. Mayweather bought out of his contract in 2006 for $750,000, and that paid off for him. It's not cheap. Whatever, let's say Eddie is in the right. I'm not saying he is, but let's say he is in the right. Buying out of your contract, even with one fight, is not going to be cheap. They'll have all the things they believe Lawrence didn't fulfill on the contract without taking that fight. How much money they may be out in investing in Lawrence, etc., etc. It's not cheap. And if Sky believe Lawrence is the future, and they were prepared to make this offer while he's supposedly still in contract, and if they believe he's the future for them, why don't they pay it? Why don't they just pay it and make Lawrence be this big star over Sky if that's the case? Letting Lawrence have to potentially delay his career in the courts. Joe Gallagher, I guess, did what most people would expect of Joe as a trainer. You know, like the whole cover-up for a couple of rounds and see if you could surprise him with a few counters. And it didn't work, did it really? Like, Paul Butler, brave. No one gave him much of a chance, in all truth. He went to Japan, tried to unify the world bantamweight titles with Naoya Inoue, and he came up woefully short. He didn't win a round, landed a few punches, and, you know, he moved well. He was very disciplined with his high guard, tucked up, as Joe obviously drilled into him, but they didn't spend enough time to focus on offense to have any serious chance of winning. So it did look like he went in there to go the distance, and that, I guess, would have been a moral victory of sorts. In a way, he closed the show in the 11th, and he basically toyed with Butler. He went up and down the gears when he wanted to, showboated, which I haven't seen him do much, actually. But I guess he was almost bored in there, without being disrespectful to Butler. Butler, when he threw, he didn't bring his body weight forward into the punch, and even when he landed, there was no attempt to follow up and try and push Inoue back with punches. Never, from what I remember. Inoue was experimenting with his head movement. He was in the wildcard gym with Freddie Roach, apparently working on defense. And you can see at times he was exaggeratedly moving his head, slipping Butler's punches. And I don't want to call it a glorified sparring session, because it was an undisputed fight. But I guess he had to do something to entertain the crowd. And like I said, he worked the gears. On occasion, he would give us a display of the hand speed. The body shots were particularly impressive. Anytime Butler even had an inkling to take the initiative, Inoue would take it back. He taunted Butler with his hands down, rolling his shoulders side to side, and eventually he closed the show in the 11th. I think a body shot started the combination, and Butler went down. He attempted to get back up, but he was counted out. Knockout victory. Another notch on what is already a very impressive career. He is now 24-0, 21 knockouts, undisputed world bantamweight champion. How do you not defend a world title from February 2019 and only today in December 2022? And it's not like he got stripped. It feels like he couldn't get rid of the belt if he tried to throw it away. He had to give up the belt, vacate the belt, because the WBA weren't going to do anything about it. So Leo Santa Cruz has relinquished his WBA featherweight title. Him and Leigh Wood, the regular champion, were about to go into negotiations and a potential purse bid for the second time, I believe, this year. But Santa Cruz has relinquished the title, and Leigh Wood is the full WBA champion, and deservedly so as well, in my opinion. There was a stage that I was thinking Leigh Wood might have to give up the belt, because if he had to submit to a 25% split against Santa Cruz getting 75, the fight just wasn't going to happen. But at least he gets to move on with his career, and it could be good news for Josh Warrington. That grudge match can still happen. It has potential to do good business in the UK. Maybe a second fight with Michael Conlan, Mauricio Lara, or a unification with Luis Alberto Lopez, who took Warrington's IBF title weekend just gone. The WBA order Alexander Usyk to defend against Daniel Dubois, the regular champion. Now, with them talking about an undisputed fight with Fury, or perhaps Fury drops the IBF belt because he hasn't got no love for the IBF, how he feels they treated him after he beat Klitschko. Fury signed a rematch clause with Klitschko when the WBA mandated a fight with Glashkov at the time, so he got stripped. But I don't know what's happening. Like Hrgovic, IBF mandatory, and now Daniel Dubois. At least Hrgovic won an eliminator, although his resume is really short. Like, why are they pushing for Hrgovic and Daniel Dubois, the likes of these guys, to fight for a title when they're trying to make an undisputed fight? Or at least not a 4-belt undisputed fight if the IBF ain't on the line. But it's still undisputed, even if no straps are on the line. Like, Daniel's resume is horrible. Who's he beat? For anyone saying, oh, you're really down on Daniel Dubois, I'm not down on Daniel Dubois. Who's he beat? Name me someone in the top 10, a legit top 10 contender that Daniel Dubois has beat. And if you say Trevor Bryan, that don't count, in my opinion. Trevor Bryan, decent fighter, but Trevor Bryan's best wins are against the likes of Berman Stavern. And like, I'm talking about a Berman Stavern at least 5 years out of date from when he could fight. You know, Daniel Dubois just added himself to the list alongside Trevor Bryan, Manuel Chia, Shannon Briggs, Lucas Brown, Shagayev, Fraser Quendo, for let's say the last 8-7 years or whatever, where the WBA have had this regular and interim belt shit with horrendous stories. Fraser Quendo waiting for a shot for 4 or 5 years, and we're like, why? You know what I mean? Like, Brown and Briggs popping for PEDs, Manuel Chia in the mix, even Chris Lovejoy. Daniel is a part of that. He needs to go out there and secure some proper top 10 wins, and Frank Warren needs to stop parading him around like he's a legit player in the weight class, because it's fraudulent as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't even have a Jerry Forrest win like Jarrett Anderson's got now. Jarrett Anderson's ahead of Daniel Dubois in terms of young heavyweights coming up. Daniel ain't going to be fighting for the title. If Frank Warren is serious about Fury fighting Usyk, yeah, he's going to tell Daniel, look, just sit down, little Daniel. You'll be on the undercard. Your time will come soon, but not now. On the back of putting on Fury Chisora, don't even dare try and sell the British public Daniel Dubois versus Usyk. It's not happening, Frank. It's not happening. And I never really cursed out the Fury Chisora fight like a lot of people. I didn't curse it out, but let me tell you this. That one there, no. At least Derek paid some dues. And it's the same with Eddie and Hrgovic. Eddie said, yeah, I got a call from the Saudis, you know what I mean? I'm good friends with them. Yeah, you know you're going to have to come off your high horse. You know nobody's buying into that. It wouldn't be a good move for Eddie and Matchroom to do that. It really wouldn't. You'll come under scorn and ridicule. Neither Daniel or Hrgovic are going to mess up a fight between Fury and USYK. I don't see it. Maybe Hrgovic and Daniel can fight on the undercard. Doesn't even have to be an undercard. That'd be a good main event, headliner. There's good fights out there to be made. They don't all have to be for the world title. What the sanctioning bodies should introduce, is mandates for contenders to face each other. For instance, you've got the IBF. You've got Martin Bagoli sitting there at 6. Frank Sanchez at 7. Oh, we'd like a bit of that. Why not? Tony Yoka at 9. Dillian White at 10. We'd like a bit of that. Joseph Parker 8. Dempsey McKean at 9. WBO. New Zealand versus Australia. Yeah, we'll have some of that. Anthony Joshua 5. Michael Hunter 6. Let's go. Otto Wallin 3. Joshua 5. Make mandates like that. Stop cluttering up the title picture all the time. Okay, Devin going to the old conspiracy theories here. He believes that Top Rank are favouring Lomachenko, trying to push their fight back to May. Devin wants to fight in March because May will conflict with Ramadan. Devin is a practicing Muslim. He told Top Rank, I want to fight before Ramadan. I am sympathetic to Devin. I mean, he is the champion, the undisputed champion. Devin says the longer he stays at 135, it'd be harder for him to boil down, and that's why they're pushing back the date. Why can't they get the fight done by March, is the question. I'd like to hear Bob explain why they can't make it in March before I start tearing Bob down.
Do I still got it?
Teofimo Lopez obviously doubted himself at that moment, although, you know, it's just after the fight. The emotions are pretty high. But nevertheless, we could be looking at a fighter who's struggling with his confidence. And he's only lost once. One loss. And it's not going to get any easier at 140. And the Wolves are lining up. Sandor Martin said Regis Prograis will kill him. He doesn't have the chin or the power. Josh Taylor said he beat a small, injured Lomachenko. He'd tear him to bits. At the same time, we need to see how Josh looks against Catterall in the rematch. He could be going through an issue with his confidence. We know that he's switched trainers from Shane McGuigan to Ben Davison, and now he's with Joe McNally, the Liverpudlian. They're still trying to arrange a date for that fight. But yeah, look, Teo getting dropped by Kambosos, not known to be a puncher, and now Sandor Martin. Understand this was a unified champion up to barely a year ago. He'll be asking what has happened. Not dissimilar to Anthony Joshua. Let's see how they bounce back in 2023. You know, Teo was an extremely outwardly confident guy as well, almost on the point of arrogance, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for boxers. Now he's looking for affirmation from members of his team and other people. Have I still got it? It's deep boxing. The psychology is deep. And the Wolves are out. You know, Devin, he jumped in. Kambosos ruined Teo. He will never be the same. Prograis, too much pressure. He's breaking mentally. Ryan Garcia, whether you thought it was a close or not a bad decision, is a bad decision. How in the world did Teo win that 97-93 or whatever the last score was? Disgusting. That was just his opinion on the fight. He didn't really tear Teo down. But Prograis and Haney, merciless. But what goes around comes around. I'm sure there's a lot of fighters who Teo has shook their confidence. Not even with his fists necessarily. I'm talking about the mental application of boxing. You know, like just the way he looked at them, the way he stared down at them, tore down their ability, their skills, and broke them. And that's what these guys are trying to do right now. They're trying to break Teo. Earlier this year, on a comeback from the Kambosos loss, he was talking about he'll become an undisputed champ, junior welterweight, in 2022. That's when Josh Taylor had 4 belts. Well, he hasn't even had a crack at a title, and his other fight this year at 140, that was just a layup. The real business came against Sandor Martin. Well, look, a lot of people didn't think Sandor Martin was going to do anything. They thought he was going to lie down. I didn't. And a lot of us who watch DAZN, whether you're British, American, Spanish, European, American, we didn't think that. And maybe Teo underestimated Sandor, like Mikey Garcia did. Because I was listening to Ade, and Ade spoke to Mikey Garcia, and it looks like Mikey didn't really train for Sandor. Thought he was a Eurobum. There are boxers who are buying into this Eurobum shit. It's bad enough the fans do it, but listen, you don't want to do that. You get your feelings hurt in that ring. End up trying to get your confidence back. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Unless you want to say the Nebraska Athletic Commission are culpable, or Everlast are culpable, who have took responsibility to the bungling of the gloves used by Terence Crawford on Saturday. Then, you know, all this Glovegate, Terence Crawford shit just sounds stupid. You know, like Neil Marsh, David Avenetian, they haven't said anything. That may change, but they haven't said anything. Because they were there with Crawford and his team when the gloves were being selected. They didn't see no foul play. What are you saying the split did? Did Crawford hit him where the glove was split? No, he hit him with the knuckle. It was a knockout. Hit him with the knuckle. What shade are you trying to put on Terence Crawford? Are you guys that desperate? Apparently the channel who was trying to expose Terence used a fake picture. It wasn't even Crawford's glove. As you can see here, according to Boxing Tweeted, Crawford had his own TBC logo in white, which you can see at the top. The logo on the surface of the gloves, shown in the bottom picture, is a green Everlast logo. Crawford's gloves were custom made. Desperate. Desperate. And some of these guys need to grow up now, you know. And maybe there's not enough happening in boxing, but some of you who follow these channels, you're not really here for boxing. You're here for drama. You're not here for well thought out analysis. You certainly ain't there for that. You're there for drama. Glovegate, Tyson Fury, Glovegate, Terence Crawford. Leave it out, man. Leave it out. The referee, before the 6th round, they went to the local commission, made them take a look. They gave Crawford and the referee the green light to go ahead. Everlast went on to say the glove had defective leather that had been used in the production of Crawford's gloves. They had another pair of gloves they were set to use, but the commission said the faulty ones were still good for competition use. There was no foul play or tampering with Crawford's gloves. You can go through the video and try and find Bo Mack tampering with the gloves. You won't find it. Crawford certainly didn't tamper with it. Unless you could tell me different. Avenetian's people went with protocol. They oversaw the hand wraps, the glove selection, and Neil Marsh has got a mouth on him. If he suspected something was dodgy, you would hear from Neil Marsh. Young Pharaoh, don't even try it, mate. Don't even try it. This one's over. Boxing News 24/7. I will source some of their articles, I'm not going to lie. But they do have some heavy-duty agendas. So when they report that Crawford's buy totals exceed projections on BLK Prime, I'll wait for more sources to come out. Why is this article not releasing some numbers? Release some numbers. Isn't it a little too early? The fight was a couple of days back. It's at least a week and change before they start releasing numbers with any validity and accuracy, isn't it? I hope it did well, but I'm not sure. I hope it did well. Is Chris Billiam Smith going back to Matchroom? It looks like he's extended his deal with Sky. He fought Isaac Chamberlain on Sky last time out. Won a tough 12-rounder, defending his EBU and Commonwealth Cruiserweight titles. No belts on the line this time around. But, you know, it's a second fight where he headlines in Bournemouth, something that Eddie Hearn and DAZN couldn't or wouldn't deliver for him. So it looks like all the Matchroom cruisers are going over to Sky. Looks like Lawrence OKOLIE wants, or assuming he deals with the New Zealand mandatory, he's heading over to Sky. And I don't think Chris Billiam Smith is going back to DAZN and Matchroom. I don't think he is. He takes on Armand Hoxhaj. He's from Kosovo. He has 14 wins, 7 inside the distance, 2 losses. Chris Billiam Smith, 16 wins, 11 inside the distance, 1 loss to Richard Riakpo on points. So this is just a keep busy fight for Chris Billiam Smith. Got Dan Aziz versus Rocky Fielding. Dan Aziz defending his British and Commonwealth titles. That's a decent scrap. There's a good heavyweight fight on there. Should be a good scrap. Steve Robinson versus Nick Campbell. That should be a good scrap. And I say that knowing that neither man might not even get to British title level. But they're going to throw a whole lot of leather. A whole lot of leather. So it'll be entertaining. Michael Mickinson returns to the ring. He's gone to Sky as well. He's gone back to Sky. What's happened with the Matchroom deal? Eddie probably forgot his name after he lost to Virgil Ortiz. So he headed off over to Sky. Wow, Sky just take anything they can from MATCHROOM. Anything they can. Caroline Dubois, she's on there. Daniel's sister. Vidal Riley, who looked good last time out. I'm just going through the names I know. Wait, who's this? Wow! I didn't even know he was still boxing. Lee Cutler, 11-1-0, takes on Julio. It is him as well. Might be a bit before you guys' time. This kid was a bit of a prospect at one time. He beat Ishe Smith, Cornelius Bundridge, had a long winning streak at the start of his career. Wow, he's still fighting, man. Julio, still fighting. Wow, 37, takes on Lee Cutler. What's he got left in the tank? Hopefully not too much for Lee. If he can produce that early millennium form, that might be a little too much for Lee. Nah, 37, you know what I mean? Could be just a paycheck job, innit?
It's a lot of things they want. There's always here to give them what they need, man. This ain't a track, me, homie. You should pace yourself. Don't talk reckless to me. You should embrace your health or do the whole world a favor. Waste yourself. Got a whole entourage and not a trace of help. I'm just live. J2 to 5. I know it seems like I'm suave, but I'm deadly when I'm taking out your squad. Fuck your lessons. What if you apply? That question caught him off guard. Nothing he replied. Looked him in his eyes just so I could see if I could recognize the light that be shining from the wise. Usually can vibe with those who think similar, but those who choose not to think ain't enough perimeter. Sometimes I just get crazy with my pen flow. I could jump on any melody or tempo. We make the complicated seem simple. Me and Delirious, we like kinfo. So we back at it. Delirious threw me a track, I threw a rap at it. We got the same obsession as a crack addict. Flow crazy, so be inside that room padded. And I ain't doing this to gain status. It ain't me, but a lot of people claim that it's the dopest shit they ever heard, and I concur with them. The problems they be facing never occur with them. I tried to tell them I'ma never lose my touch. They flow sound broken, they could use a crutch. And I be riding on these tracks so much I could use a clutch. I done shook off all the rust, I done picked the microphone up and blew off all the dust.